is 4:30 and the work session for Monday, 7 March 2016, scheduled for 4:30, is ready to start. And the city clerk, would you verify attendance?
Barbara Baker,
Here, is that like roll?
Something like
Stan
that.
Holmes,
It's not required.
Present.
What she's doing.
Edward Palmer,
Here.
Terry Short,
Here.
Kim Thompson,
Here.
Chris Yates.
Since it's informal, she could have just said to me, everybody's here.
Mm.
And that takes us right into the new business topics. And the first one, well, first of all, I have, all the items on this agenda are the same that were on the agenda that you received on Friday, except they have been renumbered, switched around, so that I could accommodate a couple of people who were interested in going to Bardstown for a 6 o'clock basketball game. So with that, the first item on the agenda is now Summer Blast discussion. And could I have both directors Fox and Duval come to the table?
Austin Duval, new team like that. Yeah.
Okay, we're ready for you to start.
All right. Good afternoon, council.
Good afternoon.
The mayor has asked us to come forward and talk to you a little bit about the Summer Blast this year. And so we've kind of ran into a little bit of a problem. Fiesta Rides, who has been our choice for the carnival rides for the past 3-4 years now. Last year in contacting, in fact, I just called her before this to confirm and make sure. Last year when they did the rides, they were told to save the last week of June for the carnival rides. Well, if y'all pull your calendars out, you'll see the last week of June is actually June 26th, which carries over into July 1st and July 2nd. And you all know our budget year ends June 30th. So we have some options. We've called several different places. In fact, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to say, but Mayor's kind of asked me to look over the new Summer Blast for this year. I don't know if probably I'll start with that. But Mayor Weaver had asked me to take a look at Summer Blast for 2016 this year. And typically Summer Blast we started back in 2011, and we've always done it sometime in June. It's either been the third or fourth week in June. Sometimes we have a fifth Saturday of the month, and we've done it a little bit later. And so we've always tried to accommodate that same routine. This year, I was told by Fiesta Rides that they were told to do it on the week of June 26th. And I think Councilman Palmer has his calendar out, I'm assuming. And you can see that that runs in. That weekend actually falls in July 1st and 2nd. And so, knowing this, the mayor tasked me with this duty to kind of look and see what we can put together. And we cannot find a ride company of the same caliber, that has enough rides to provide for the Summer Blast, which is causing us an issue. Summer Blast was based on carnival rides, vendors, music, food, games, fun. And so, if we do not have the carnival ride, it kind of takes away from the aspect of what we've been trying to do. So I've talked with our city finance director and didn't know if the council would entertain carrying those funds over so we can actually do Summer Blasts like we typically have done it, except do it on the time that was told to them last year, which is July 1st and 2nd. And it's because it's out of our budget year. So the money that's been appropriated for this year's budget, which is you all budgeted for the festivals, is going to end June 30th, and we can't pay the bills for July 1st and 2nd without carrying that over. So I don't know why they were told that. I mean, my first response to her was that doesn't make any sense because July 1st and 2nd runs into a new budget year. But she said that was the year that she was told last year, and that's the year they set aside because they stay fairly busy during the summertime because that's their predominantly busy time. So.
Did you check with the surrounding area to see, since that turns us into the 4th of July weekend, to see what other activities are going on that weekend that we'll be in direct competition with?
The only thing that I do.
Because you're really thinking of having this instead of June, it would be the
4th of July weekend.
Yeah, it'd be the 4th of July weekend. It could possibly be the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Yes, ma'am.
So Friday is the 1st.
So I'm assuming it would either, there's an opportunity that we could have a recording, national recording act that would be willing to play this Sunday night, which is July 3rd, and we could do the fireworks, the show, and everything on a Sunday night. But because the 4th is a holiday, which is that Monday, and so
The only thing to consider that weekend is that we lose a lot of our military people and the civilians that don't
Stay
actually
in the area.
stay in the area that go back to, so a lot of those folks would be probably traveling. They get 4-day weekends.
Well, it would be a training holiday. They'll get a
Right,
5-day
that's what I
weekend.
said. Well, they won't have 5 days, but they'll have 4 days. They can't give them 5 days, but
But if they do a training holiday.
no,
then-
they can't. They
Only
can't do
going 4
5.
at a
They're
time.
gonna do 4. So you might want to consider that. Typically, we may lose a lot of those folks.
yes,
And
sir.
is there other activities going on? You were gonna tell us whether or not there was any other. Do you
Well, no, the only ones I know of, I know Ronnieville has a fireworks show. They do it on the actual 4th. I'm not sure what Elizabethtown's date is this
Back it
year.
up or something.
Yeah, that was the next question.
Sunday.
No, I can't because of the carnival people. A lot of what we're changing, and I shared that with the carnival lady I spoke with today, Fiesta Rides, is that we are shifting our festival because of the mess up that happened in reference the date.
No, when I said back up, I mean go with the 19th of June.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, they're not available. All the dates were full. They've already booked out because they were told to save the date.
So the only day they have open is the holiday week.
Correct. The 18th they do.
You know why, right?
Well, I know the 18th they do.
Right.
And it's because but that's the same night as Fort Knox, and we don't want to have an event.
Right, but I'm saying there's a reason why they're open on the 4th of July.
No, they were told to hold that date. They wouldn't have had it this year. That's the only reason. I mean, I wouldn't have, and I confirmed that with her again before I came up here, because I wanted to make sure that she said I was told to hold that last weekend. We consider it a week because we have to come in and set up on that Tuesday, Wednesday, and it takes us, some days to get set up, and so we count that as a week. That's what happened.
Well, it sounds like they're messed up on their time because they know we don't. We always do it in June.
She actually, her words were they were pushing for June 11th and was told no, do it the last week.
So we've always done it typically that week before the 4th of July.
Usually around the 18th.
Summer Blast started to be the weekend right after summer, which
Right.
is June 20th or 21st.
Right.
But that's the problem with all of our festivals is they're never at a set time. We need a set weekend, a set schedule so people can plan, people that live here can plan, other communities can plan around it.
And sometimes too, it depends on the artist. We were fortunate, we were flexible I know, I'm going back to 2013, 14, when we were heavily involved with an artist, bringing somebody in.
Right.
They were pretty flexible with us at the time, the carnival people and stuff, so we made it all work. This time they booked everything and they said that was the only 2 dates they had because they set it aside for us.
And there's no other carnival people in
We
the
called, they're all booked.
this side of the Mississippi?
The ones that are reputable and the ones that come with recommendations are all booked. I mean, they just don't have it, and they don't like to leave. The one has been established for 18 years in Indiana, and they can't give up
Right, I
something.
can
And so
understand that.
a lot of these go to the same festivals every year and
Right.
every year. And so Fiesta Rides, and that's what they hope to intend is they build a rapport with you and where they're going to be your choice every year, so they can put it in their books. So, I mean, she said that they pushed to get a different date. They already scheduled something with a Catholic church in Louisville on the 25th, and that's why, they already booked out.
Now, who
So-
handles the Hardin County Fair? What company?
They're out of Florida. They're a huge company, though. They're hard to get in their cycle.
What's the average amount, the population that we usually have for Summer Blast? Do you know what that is?
I mean, I don't know. I know the last year we had about 30, let me go back. The last year that I was involved in it, we had at least 8 to 10,000, and we had about 3,500 for the show. That was when Colin Ray came. But that was a beautiful weather, if y'all remember. It was really nice weather.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it worked out very well.
So what do we have budgeted for it right now, available?
40, I think it was 49.5,
And that was a total year festival.
49.330.
49,330, that's
Yeah.
available
So-
for Summer Blast?
Yeah, we budgeted 60,000 for the current budget, and we spent $10,660.
Already?
Yes.
Okay, so you're just wanting this, let me put my glasses.
I think
49,330
49.3.
to carry over into July and you'll use it
Well,
in
at least
July?
at least part of it, because we have to make some assumptions that the production company, the recording artist may require some money up front. You know, besides the
Right.
signed contract, sometimes they'll require half up front and then
Right.
half day of show. So of that 49, some of the money will most likely be spent in the current budget.
And you
but-
don't want to pay everything in advance. That's not a
Correct.
good way
We
to do
normally don't
business.
Normally they require half up front, half day of show. And then obviously some of the expenses, maybe what purchasing the tent rentals and
Right.
things, will be paid out of the current budget. But of that 49.5, which is now, some of that money, maybe the day of show expense, some of that won't come due until after June 30th, which is the new budget. So under this proposal, we would want to earmark those funds once we get closer to June and know what we think we will spend now and what will need to be carried over.
Mhm.
And then that sum of money would be added to whatever we budget as a reoccurring cost for next year's Summer Blast. So so at budget time, if we determine that we want to budget 60,000 towards Summer Blast, for any festival for fiscal year 15-16, we would add this money as a carryover to it, and then maybe the total budget becomes 85 instead of 60. It's because
You mean
part of it.
16, 17, right?
I'm
16,
sorry,
17.
yes, sorry about that, yeah. So that's really what we're saying, just because of the nuance of the date of event being just after June 30th, but the funds were allocated prior
Right.
to July 1st.
What's the other option?
I have a question, can I have the floor? It sounds great, what you're gonna do sounds great. You've always done a great job with the festivals, is that one of your new roles now? Economic Director plus Festival Committee along with Mr. Fox?
I'll let the mayor answer
That's
that.
just an additional duty for him.
Oh, I see, that's good, he's got so much spare time. I didn't know that.
He's very efficient.
I will tell you that though we are actively I don't want to announce the artists now or the people that we're recording to be their national recording artists. I do want to mention a lot of times we hear Councilman Palmer came in to see me a couple of weeks ago and talked to me a little bit. I know Stan has as well. In fact, I think mostly all of you actually have came to me and asked me why we keep going with a country theme. And I'll share with you, Fort Knox this year is having the same theme they've had over the past couple of years. They went a little bit different route last year and didn't fare so well. This year they're having Thompson Square, Cassidy Pope, and Fleetwood Mac. That's going to be on June 18th. But country has the largest listening demographic here in our area. The radio stations give a lot of free advertisement. It's a lot harder to get into Louisville markets. They don't get free. You get paid advertisement. And so I know a lot of people say, why country, why country? Country just has a large listening area and they come out. I mean, it is. It's just the way the demographics show. So we are courting someone from that era. They're current, they're up to date, very popular, and a free concert I think will drive in people as far as ways Bowling Green, definitely out of state. I can tell you that someone locally last year had them when they were up and comers, and the people were this one particular group was nominated best duo for CMA this past year, and so they're a very popular group. I will tell you that we're
What's the
also
current group?
they're very current, yes. I will also tell you that we're out currently raising money. The mayor knows this morning I was out trying to raise some money, so not everything is to be paid just with city tax dollars. I went back in 2013, 2014, and in 2013 I raised $26,700 and about $16,000 back in 2014. So we are going to try to raise money. I don't want anybody to think that we're not going to get sponsorships and stuff on this. So
How is it you gotta go about raising money?
we go to the banks. We go to anybody want to raise. Johannesburg Bullware, as many of y'all probably know, he always donates the firework money to have the fireworks show, and so stuff like that. That's $3,500.
Has he agreed to do that
Basically
again this year?
sponsorships.
Yeah, it's sponsorships. Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Has he already agreed to do the fireworks again this year?
I'm sure he will, but yes, we haven't spoke with him yet, so I'm sure he will. I gotta give him a date. So, we hope our lovely tourism will have some money for us as well.
Don't say that.
But yeah, we're definitely out looking for money. So I just want you all to think that we're just taking the taxpayer dollars and not trying to get as much back as we can. So
With it being 4th of July weekend, a lot of people do travel, but there's a possibility that rather than people traveling, they could say, hey, You come to my place, we're having a concert this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can get some tourism in Ratcliffe that weekend, you know. Rather than people leave, they bring the family here, so.
Well, last summer, y'all can look, Jeffersonville, Indiana hosted them, and I spoke with the lady in charge of that and to ask them how everything went. And I shared this with the mayor. They had about 11,000 people show up. So that was just for the concert, and that's all they do is just the concert. So,
So are you still thinking of doing a concert on,
not saying we're going to have that many. I'm just saying
Saturday
that's.
or are you still working on all of that?
If you all say you're okay with it and we get a consensus, if the mayor gets the consensus that you're all okay with it, then I'll start trying to get a contract with a group, and depending on the date that they can do it. But I mean, if you all want the carnival portion of it as part of this, as we've done in the past, then the only date we have available is July 1st, 2nd, or 3rd.
And the carnival people would be there until they're leaving on Sunday?
They would probably leave on Sunday. If we do the show on Sunday, they'd leave Monday.
So,
And they might want to stay if it's the 4th. Maybe people want to come out on the 4th and take their kids out, but that would be on them. It wouldn't be a city function.
Okay. I just think with it being the 4th of July, we really need to sit down and rework the whole event.
It's fairly straightforward. You have a carnival, you have a music act, you have the beer tent, you have the vendors. There could be some caveats you add to it to bring a little bit more, but the general framework is pretty much the same.
We're not having a beauty pageant or anything this
Okay.
year like we've had in the past.
Okay. Maybe the baby contests, something like that. It's election year. We get our local elected leaders to judge the baby contest.
No,
No, they won't.
no, not judging the baby contest.
Political suicide.
I know it
Yeah.
is.
Yes, sir.
I agree with it. I like it. Do it.
And,
What, the judging the con-
No, with this plan to move the money forward, it seems
Right.
logical. I don't see.
I don't know that we have an option.
An update, as we get closer to budget time and, what the contractual fee ends up being, how much they require in advance, and we'll have a better feel, but we just didn't want to get to budget time and we're setting the budget for next year and the council says we're only gonna budget 60 and we start talking, well, we have commitments that, and then we got problems.
yeah, we don't want to embed that into the process. So.
So instead of 60,000, it might be 90,000, and the 30,000 comes from last year.
Yes, right.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Yates, what do you think?
I agree.
Okay.
I think it's good.
Councilman Palmer, what do you think?
It's a good idea.
Sounds great, Mayor.
I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Thank you.
JJ, you can leave. You need to stay. Jan Swap. The topics that we're looking at today, some of them are from me and some of them are from the council. And this one is a council request. And so, Finance Director Fox. Here's the report.
I think the topic is financial director's report, so I think Councilman Short had approached about that. Maybe just to give a brief synopsis of, we've got 7 months into the current budget, kind of where we stand from a budgetary standpoint, either maybe just a brief picture on revenues and expenses. So I've kind of put together something, and for those of you all that, it's kind of in note format, but if anybody wants a copy, I'll be glad to. I only brought the copy that I have, but if you'd like a copy at a later time, I'd be glad to get you a copy of it.
We would love coffee.
The target percentage for the month, and this information, by the way, is based off of January 31st. I realize we're into early March, but the way our financial reports work, basically we run our financials the 10th of the month following the month, and because we haven't gotten to the 10th of March yet, it's based off January figures. From a departmental standpoint, I'll just kind of highlight each one. Our target percent right now would be 58.3% after 7 months of the budget, which would be January 31st. The police department is pretty much right on budget, about 58.9%. And again, the target is 58.3%. Administration is at 61.5%. That's about 3% over budget at this time. Fire department is about 63.4%, which is about 5% over at this time. Recreation Department, Parks and Recreation is at 58.2, basically right at target. Public Works is at 60.5%, which is about 2.2% over. And then the Economic Development Planning Department is at 62.5%, at about 4% over budget. From a capital purchases standpoint, we're at about 75.5% spent of our capital funds. As you all remember, the majority of our capital funds was earmarked for the Mill Pond development, which was $1.1 million. Of course, most of that money, as we've been giving you updates, has already been spent, which is why we're at 75% of capital expenses. I think the largest remaining amounts outstanding would be the $150,000 for the build ready site, as well as the police cruisers. Those funds have not been spent yet. I think that's about $225,000. That will probably come due fairly soon, because as I understand it, we have all the cruisers that are being striped and all the equipment's going in Lawrenceburg, and we should be having those in very soon. And so that expense will be going out as well very soon. So from a summary standpoint there, we have spent overall from a operation standpoint about 60. This is just a summary of those departments. 60.6% is where we're at through January 31st. Again, target's 58.3. So we're only about 2.3% over budget as of right now. We spent approximately $6.4 million out of a $10.6 million operations budget. The capital expenses, well, I just touched on those. Talk a little bit about what we did last fall. We did do a police and fire pay plan adjustment, as you all remember. I made mention at that point. We had a summary that, of course, we were all a part of, that at some point before the end of the budget, we would have to amend the budget, which we have not done yet. I typically try to do those in June, kind of as a catch-all, but we had a plan where, as you all remember, a lot of the funds for those police benefit and salary adjustments were coming from other sources, some vacant positions in departments. So a lot of that was helping to pay for itself, but because of how the money has to be allocated to each department, we still need to do a cleanup amendment to kind of show the flow through for that. From a revenue standpoint, right now we're at 64.4% of revenue that's been collected, and that's about 6% over budget. So if you kind of look at the revenue expense, we're 2.3 over on the expense side, but we're 6.1 over on the revenue side. So from an overall perspective, I think we're looking well right now to where we should be. Property taxes, most of our property taxes, we're at 96% collection, which is where it should be because most of the taxes are due in early January. Insurance premium tax, we're at 58% right at budget. The other big category is occupational or payroll tax. We're at 61%, so we're a little bit over budget as well there. When I say over budget, we've collected more than anticipated. Municipal road aid funds, we're at 65.5% out of 58, so that's looking well for us as well. And then the other one that kind of caught me by surprise was building permits. Based on what we budgeted, we're actually at 90.5% of what we budgeted and anticipated for building permits. And that anticipation is really a byproduct of how we did last year. So from a permit standpoint, on some of the things at least that are going on, we're off to a pretty good start after 7 months from that perspective. General fund cash and reserves on hand, $4.248 million that's actually as of the end of February. And as you all know, when we talked at budget time, there was going to be some need to take some funds out of reserves should we need to. We have not had to do that right now because our revenues have been a little bit over expenses. Stormwater. Stormwater is one that we're going to have to focus on as we do a budget amendment in June. A lot of that has to do with the FEMA grant because, as you all know, we got a $5 million FEMA grant. We have 87% is going to be paid. We have to come up with 12%. That 12% will be coming out of our reserve fund. And We have now started, obviously, that process to spend FEMA reimbursable funds. We have 2 outstanding pay requests with FEMA. We have not gotten those funds back yet, but, so on an expense side, you gotta spend the money up front, and it usually takes about a month to get back, so there's gonna be some adjustments we're gonna have to make, and as a result of that, for the stormwater department, we're at 79.6% spent through January, which is about 21% over budget. And we have only spent 6% of the stormwater capital budget as of right now. We have not purchased the grapple yet. That's going to go on the truck that we modified for the for the limb collection. That's going to take effect July 1st. So from a dollar standpoint, stormwater has spent $699,000 out of an $879,000 operational budget. Drainage, we budgeted about $216,000 in drainage. We've spent 84% of that at $180,000. So a lot of the work for drainage contracts were done last fall, and the remaining obviously will probably come out in the late spring and early summer to round out the budget. We've talked about FEMA already. And then total stormwater cash on hand with reserves as of February 28th is $977,300. And again, those are funds that we had set aside and earmarked for our share in part for our share of the FEMA grant. And that kind of brings me to just a general summary on where we're at right now.
Chance, that was a very good job. Can you make sure I get a copy of that?
I can? Yeah, I've scribbled down here some, so what
Just
I'll,
email it to me.
I can do that. I think we can probably do it in the Dropbox.
Chief,
I can do
you
that.
can give us all a copy, right?
Yeah, we'll put it in the
Send it
Dropbox.
to me and I put it in the Dropbox.
Yeah, it's just
and email it.
easier.
Okay,
Okay.
Good job, thanks.
Thank you.
thank you.
I don't know. I don't think we would want that. Good luck on your game. You're going to
How do you know it's him?
Go North Hardin.
smart.
The next item on the agenda is the FEMA grant budget. And before we go into that, I was at the Strategic Planning Conference at Fort Knox this weekend on Friday and Saturday. And was asked the question, what are you guys doing in Ratcliffe for clearing all these trees? And I think there's a perception that we're tearing something up. When I explained to them what we're doing, they were very, very happy to hear that. Especially when I told them at the Quiggins that there will be a access road all the way around it that will be paved, and I think it's about 1.25 miles. And that's for people to drive on, but you never know what it might be used for. But the other thing that I think those of us who know about this grant need to be telling people who ask is that if you look at the Quiggins sinkhole area and look at that old cab store, we had an opportunity to sell that to somebody who wanted to put something there, and they couldn't get a loan because it's in the floodplain. When we finish with the Quiggins sinkhole and the road around it and the berms that we have up around it, that will no longer be in a floodplain. So that's one of the advantages of what we're doing. Now, you also know that at the first of the year, we created 3 committees, and one of those committees is the FEMA committee. And we've put 2 city council persons on each committee so that for reports like this, city council can brief city council. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you because I think you're the one that's doing the briefing tonight. But let's have Toby Spalding come up and have a seat here, just in case you need him. So with that,
The FEMA grant's a little over $5 million. We've got the Turner Lane, the Quiggins Basin, we've got the Turner Lane Basin, we've got the Wilson Road Basin, we've got the Song Property Basin, and then an alternative basin off of Sheldon Road. And we've got, what you've got there is each basin, and you've got to the right, you have a breakdown for what's going to be needed for each year. Keep in mind that 13% of those figures will come from the city. Now, we had $100 in this project for clearing the trees. We've done that work ourselves. The only thing we've actually, we're probably gonna spend probably about close to 20,000 of that for equipment, a little bit of overtime, but for the most part, we've done that work ourselves, so we're gonna actually net some income for that. So that'll cover some of our costs. We may actually break even at that point. If you look at the last page for the fiscal year 2015-16, the total is going to be roughly around $667,102. Again, keep in mind 13% of that is ours to pay. But again, that should be offset by the fact that we've cleared those trees and actually earned some money for that. The project is broken down as you can see by year. So this is what we should spend on each basin by year. I went out with Toby today and we looked at all the projects, and they've begun clearing the trees in a couple of the projects. So if you see some people talking about those projects, that's what's going on. The trees are being cleared, which Toby's doing a very good job of trying to contact all landowners. Some people we've checked with several times, knocking on doors, trying to find people at home to actually let them know what's taking place near their property. Some of this requires some negotiation for fence, trees that own properties. We've got a couple of swimming pools we've got to take down on some properties over on Shelton Road. We've got all but one of the pieces of properties that needed to be purchased for this project sealed, signed rather. So we should hopefully soon have all the properties taken care of. So I'm pretty thrilled with the progress so far. And I think when it's said and done, we're going to have some pretty good looking basins on that south end. And that trail that the mayor spoke of is going to be really useful for alternative uses as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But Toby's here. If there are any questions, I think.
I have a question. Councilman Palmer, you mentioned that, well, we're getting a lot of calls about the areas. You mentioned about maybe possibly putting up some signage out there.
But I
People
talked,
know what's going on.
yeah, I talked to Toby about that today, and he says that's actually in the budget.
Oh, okay.
When the construction starts,
I see.
is when those signs will start to go up, and it's actually 2 signs per project.
Okay.
But the only thing that's taking place now is the tree removal. And if you guys remember, that had to be done at a specific time
Right.
due to bat migrations and mating season or something of that nature. So that's in the budget. That's a part of the scope of the project. So those signs will be placed up when we actually start moving dirt and
So they're burning a lot of stuff over in that area and the trees in there. Because I did get a couple calls and reference to people talking about asthmatics and those different types of things. I really know you can't control it a whole lot. So.
Well, you can, you don't burn it. You
Well, yes.
yeah, I don't think we've started burning. There's going to be a combination of
They haven't burnt
some
yet, I don't
burning,
think.
but there's also going to be some tree removal. So, and I'm pretty sure that if somebody has a health reason, then we probably need to try to. If you know of anybody that has a health
Actually,
reason,
that's why I was.
we should notify Toby so they're aware of that. But he's done a really good job
Absolutely.
knocking on doors and trying to let people know, especially those properties that have their back or front to the actual project site. He's done a real good job of knocking on doors and informing everybody. He's got a couple of doors that he's been through several times, just hasn't gotten a response yet. And those may be some of the people complaining. We have a lot of property owners that actually are not living here in the city that may actually be getting calls from people and then making an assessment. But I think if they give Toby a call, that he's trying to be very responsive to everybody's needs. And so hopefully we can get all those things worked out. But I think in the end, everybody's going to be happy.
Are we looking at doing any of the other projects in-house to save money?
As right now, we haven't got that far along. We just been concentrating one step at a time, get the trees cleared. On the burning, I mean, that's pretty, strict rules that we abide by as far as the weather forecast, the wind, and, those aspects are controlled by another department, and believe me, he doesn't cut us no break, so we usually have pretty good success with the burning. Don't get very many, like at Walmart, get very few, but you don't never know when the wind's gonna change direction, if there is any wind or when it picks up, but most of the time we have pretty good luck with that.
One of the reasons why we will have some overtime costs, I wanted to stress this, was this project of cutting down trees and removing the trees is really contingent upon weather. And so if the best day of the week just happens to be Saturday, we need to maximize that opportunity to move those dozers. When that ground is dry and hard, we need to maximize those opportunities when we're dealing with that heavy equipment in some of those low spots. So that's the reason why we may have some overhead costs. But again, we've got more than enough budgeted to cover our 13% and some.
I would like to offer just a suggestion. I know you said, or Councilman Palmer said that we're gonna put some signage up when we start construction. Why can't we do that now? Because the people are curious. I get, calls and things too on what's going on down there. So I drove today. I didn't even realize we were doing the other side of Shelton Road. I guess that was my fault. I thought, I didn't know it was all the way over here. But I think if we go ahead and put that signage up, I know Mayor Duval, he was really good into putting the signs up, the dollar figure, the amount of after pictures, so we know what it's gonna look like and everything. And that goes a long way. The other thing I'd like to suggest is sometimes when you have this kind of situation in a major project, if we had not really a meet and greet, but maybe a question and answer thing at Colvin, where people from that area and advertise it so everybody can come and find out what's going on. But, host it one night, have some pictures, some drawings or diagrams, so people have a better understanding. I think if they're knowledgeable, they would be more likely to work with you. Like I say, some of them are gonna, I guess, lose their swimming pools for the summer. So, I think if we explain to them and kind of let them know what our plan is, there's no sense that it would be like a secret plan, and I'm not saying that it is. But I think if we hosted something like that, kind of like how the State Highway Department does when they're getting ready to go through and give you an idea.
Yeah,
I think that would be very informative and very helpful to everybody in the city.
I think that we're about 5 steps ahead of the State Highway Department. The State Highway Department does that because they don't go out one-on-one.
Right.
I met with of the 8 property owners on Shelton Road that we're affecting, 9, 10, I met with 9 of them. There's 10 property owners we're affecting on Shelton Road that we're affecting. Now,
But you're affecting people 2 or 3 houses down too,
no,
so.
I mean, the State Highway Department, when you have those meetings, and believe me, I've been to a bunch of them, you have a few neighbors that come, mostly it's the people that are affected. Usually, if we had a meeting down there, there's no reason for people on Meadow Lake or Marbury Trace. They may come. I'm not opposed to that, but just to get past that, of the 10 people on the Turner Lane Basin, I've met with 9 of them. The other one I haven't been able to catch at home. I'll catch him next Tuesday night when we have the council meeting because I've been told I've got to hold on. He gets home at 4:30, so I'll catch him when I stay late that night. But the rest of them, it's personal contact. It's one-on-one, where they had all my attention. I had all theirs, and they were very happy when I explained to them. A couple of them were fearful of losing a few trees along the easement and the sewer in their backyard. But when I explained to them what was going on, how we were going to influence their yard and maybe improve it, they were all happy. Now, the Liberty Street, we haven't been within 100 feet of anybody on Liberty Street, so I haven't had a chance to get over there. But we're actually not going to we're not going to physically touch anybody's property over there. So, maybe a meeting would be okay. I'm not opposed to it. The sign, usually the sign is put out with the project because we like to advertise the contractor's name on there. A lot of times we might even put a contact number when construction starts. So that's usually why the sign is included in the contract. We put the bid amount, that on there now. Not saying it's political, but a lot of times those signs are for people to get their names on. You know, and that aspect now that's good advertising, but it's better advertising when we use it to put the contractor's name on, phone number they can contact, and the contract amount is better. But
I mean, there just
utilize-
seems to be such big interest because it's so visible right there. I mean, you can't go south and not see it at either road you take if you're on Dixie or Wilson Road.
It's definitely very visible, and we've seen that today.
Mhm.
I mean.
They're really
obviously-
starting to look.
And
really
people are
starting to
kind of
look
curious,
good.
like, well, how far is this gonna go?
It
You
looks
know,
great.
so I think if we have a diagram or some maps or something up there so they can see, I think
And every,
people will settle down and,
and every affected property owner has been you know, approached multiple times. Like I said, we've signed all the land contracts, all of them that we're paying for. We've signed all those. But the curious people that want to view it going down the road, yes, I mean, you know, I think they done an article about it in the paper. I thought the News Enterprise done one, or you know, like when we were awarded the grant. But maybe there could be some more
I think they
PR as well.
forgot, yeah.
You know, the social media probably not the avenue you get, because usually you get the negative people on
Right.
social media. You know, that may, you know, there's no fact checking when it comes to
Right.
social media. And usually you can't even respond back to them because it don't usually end up well when it's on social media. So I like the idea of a public meeting, you know, okay, and I'm not opposed to that, you know, if we so choose to go with that. But as of right now, we're on our last 3 or 4 days of clearing. We're probably, after, with the weather being pretty this week, we'll probably wipe it out this week. And after that, the first project, we hope to have the plans done by April 1st. We'll have it bid out and hopefully before the council May 1st, either in a special call meeting or the work session or thereabouts. About that time is the projected schedule for the first 2 basins. So it's moving along pretty, you know, depends on how much work we do between March 1st and May 1st is what we're
On
talking
weather,
about.
What's
basically
the
the weather.
date for the bat migration that all the trees?
March 31st.
And if, say we get 3 weeks of straight rain, do they know?
Not an issue
anyway?
at this point. I mean, with the equipment we got and where we are, that's not an issue. We're
Okay.
in good shape.
Also, make
Bless
a point that there are only 2 swimming pools, I think, that are
Right.
affected by this, and both of them are above ground.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I figured that,
and,
yeah.
and everybody in that area is gonna see improvement on their ground.
Mhm.
And in some places where we're digging, there's gonna be dramatic improvement.
Yeah.
We're gonna take some pieces of ground that are worth nothing now. It's gonna be a very expensive piece of real estate when we're done.
Because you ever drove over there before, after a rain, a heavy rain, it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah.
So this is
Something else
great.
Toby told me as a byproduct of this, if you drive down the south end of Wilson Road, those ditches along that south end are very, I mean, they're like inches off the road.
Right.
So you take half the tire off the road, you could end up sideways in the ditch. So that a lot of those ditches are gonna be cleaned up in the process. When we get ready to take that road over from, right across from in front of the Calvary, that goes straight across into Wilson, that's going to require that Wilson Road turn into a 3-lane highway, 3-lane road there for left and right turning lanes. But something significant for you guys to remember is that at some point, probably in May, we're probably gonna be coming to you guys with a budget modification for this $667,102. And keep in mind that that is money that's going to come to us from the FEMA grant. So,
We are at, I mean, basically the clearing, I mean, I think Mr. Palmer had it about right, that, you know, he rounded it off to 100,000, but there's $113,000 worth of clearing, and that'll be about what we bill FEMA for. We'll have less than 30,000 in expenses doing that, you know, so, you know, we'll have 83,000 or so dollars. You know, it'll go in the stormwater budget, but it'll still have to be budgeted in this procedure called the budget amendment, which I'm assuming Chance will do at the same time that he does all the other budget amendments. Unless we get in a crunch for money before then. $667,000 worth of expenditures, he could get in that crunch the 1st of May, and that's why we want to bring it to attention here that, you know, that when we do that, it will be because of that reason.
so far we've had no problems with FEMA honoring their agreement to turn those budget requests out.
They were super fast on turning it over. Usually the first pay request to get set up in the system with the electronic bank transfer, that's how they do the transfer of money. Usually it takes 6-8 weeks for that first one to come through, or even 2.5 months. And we've already received our first reimbursement. We're testing the water right now. They're processing the second reimbursement right now that has our in-kind reimbursement, which what that means is we're clearing the trees. This is the first pay request that has them paying us directly, which they have no problem doing, as long as we give them the correct paperwork, and they have that right now, and we don't suspect any trouble.
The other thing I wanted to say, because I don't think Councilman Palmer has said that yet, or if he did, I didn't catch it. This is a 3-year project.
Yeah.
So it's gonna go over 3 years, so I think people need to be aware of that too. Again, the signage would help when you show your physical years, to know that it's nothing that's gonna be totally finished this summer or next summer, but it's a 3-year overall design plan.
Yeah. Usually the signage has a completion date.
Right,
And
If you look at the 5th page of this, and you look at the bottom line, estimated expenditures, you see 3 fiscal years there.
right.
And
I pointed
if
that
you-
out at the onset.
Yeah, you did.
But if you do a cumulative total of all that, it comes up to $5,094,114.
Right.
So that tells you that it's a 3-year.
Well, I'm saying that
Yeah.
people in the audience and on TV, may not be realizing right at this moment that it's a 3-year plan, so that
Even though
they'll
we say
be
It's a
aware.
3-year project.
even though we say it's 3 years, it's basically, we're talking, it's 3 fiscal years.
Right.
We're in 1 fiscal year right now. We fully intend to be done by November of 2017. So actually, it's 2.5
2.5.
years from now, but we don't want to go through that last winter and go over into 18.
Right.
Even though we can, by our permit and by our FEMA, we hope to hit the restoration area of the fall of 2017 to get the grass back growing, and that's the construction schedule we're pushing for right now.
Very good job, Toby. Thank you very much.
That's great.
Thank you very much, sir.
Councilman Palmer, very good report.
Yeah, good job, Councilman Palmer also.
Thank you for doing this, our figures.
You're welcome.
You know, I love figures.
The next thing we go to is item number 4, the proposed ordinance. Now, we looked at this before and found it confusing. It is paragraph 10-56, computation of license fees. And we thought that the language was confusing. That came to us from Councilman Short. We all agreed that we needed to change this and put this language in. And we've now looked at the language again at prompting from Councilman Short and feel that that's kind of confusing also. So if you turn to the page 3 of, or did I give you that?
We don't
No, we
have
don't have that.
anything.
Okay, then I'm proposing that we just change it to 1 sentence. This has to go to Michael Pike and he has to do it. But the essence of this is that owners of 2 or more residential units, regardless of their location, are not exempt from obtaining a residential rental license.
Perfect.
That's the essence of what we're saying.
Perfect.
So we're gonna give this back to Michael Pike, and he's gonna make it sound the way it needs to sound to change it.
Sounds great, Mayor.
Is that okay, Michael?
Yes, sir. That's,
So you can have 2 properties and not have to pay.
Right. And that takes out the language we had about military, that somebody military had 2 pieces of property and they lived in one and they rented the other one and they left and now they have 2.
Mayor, could
It
you
just-
read that again? I think I might have misunderstood. I'm sorry. Read what you proposed for the wording.
Owners of 2 or more residential units, regardless of their location, are not exempt from obtaining a residential rental license.
Right. So if a person just owns 1 residential unit, they don't need to
They don't
get
need
a
a license.
license. That's, I was just wanting to make sure that's what you said.
Even if they're renting it out.
Why don't,
Yeah.
it would seem to like it would be more clear if you said if you have 3 or more, you would pay versus
It's
who
2 or
doesn't
more,
have
actually.
to pay.
Yes. If you have 2 or more, if you own 2 or more
No.
residential rental
You,
units,
he said you have 2, you don't pay.
no.
that's not what he said.
That's not what he said.
I'm gonna give this to Michael Pike and he's gonna come back to us.
I think we need to set, the wording, I think you're right, Mr. Mayor, but I think the confusion is, we want to charge people for a business license after the first property
Right,
or after the second property.
Right,
after the first property.
after the first.
In other words, you can own one residential
Right.
rental and you don't need to have a license.
Right.
If you own two, you're now in the residential rental.
And it said two or
business.
more.
Two or more.
Two or more.
So, for example, in Elizabethtown, it's 4 or more.
Yeah, no.
So it's not unusual to have a small exemption right at the top. And that covers the military issue and also
Covers
civilians.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody
everybody
gets the
the
same exemption.
So what if they own two or more residentials, but they're not rentals?
Well, we're talking about residential rentals.
Rentals,
not-
okay,
not
but that's what I'm
homes.
saying, so that need you put in there.
It's
Because
residential.
they may own two residential properties, but they may not be rentals.
Right, if they're claiming depreciation on property, it is a residential rental.
Correct.
So-
Right, I'm saying there are people that own multiple residential properties, but they're not rentals.
Well, if it's, exactly, in order,
But they're not renting them
if
actively.
they're not,
Right,
if they're
okay.
claiming depreciation on those,
It's
they are
right.
residential rentals.
Correct.
Whether they collect any rent,
It's on them.
follow what I'm saying?
Mr. Weaver,
I
can I
follow
get a
what
copy
you're saying,
of,
but I think what we're
what you
charging
had
people
written?
for is rental property. If they're not renting it out,
Do it
then
and give it to, and send it to all of you.
when will we be getting that, like, right before the meeting? Because, I mean, we don't even have this one.
Well, I just wrote it.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't write, I couldn't write as fast as you were.
There's an email with the new language that we can forward to you either tonight or tomorrow.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
I sent the language to Michael Blake.
I think.
Because the way I read this one and the way it was worded was just, it needed a lot of change.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to head something off in the path and before we have a problem with it.
The original one needed to be changed. The one we put in as a substitute needed to be changed. And this one seems pretty simple. And I think Mike can make it even better.
And I'll try to talk with Mike just to make sure we're clear. Or Mr.
Mayor,
Pike,
we
I
also
should
looking
say.
at just cleaning up some different things on there, period, because me and Councilman Short was also talking, there was some things still on there in reference to video stores and different things, so that there's some other items that probably can be just cleaned up on there.
Well, we
When you
did.
take a look at it
That's
overall.
not included in.
I know, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just take a look at it.
Well, you know,
Are there still video stores around?
Exactly. That's my point, Mike.
as you know, as a councilman, you can do an ordinance anytime you wish.
Yes.
Or you can come to us and say, this is my idea, would you put it in an ordinance? So,
That's
whichever
why-
way you want to do it.
That's why I was mentioning it.
Yeah.
I think what Councilman Holmes was saying, if we're gonna amend the ordinance, maybe we should just amend it all at one time. Is that what you're kind of looking at?
Instead of,
Just doing it in bits and pieces, and then we've got, well, we amended it this time and this time and
I
this
can
time.
add this, what brought that one up was people were coming in here to get a business
Right.
license. And there was confusion about the interpretation. So we just dealt with that one individual and that there's, 40 or 50 categories. Some of those categories don't even exist anymore.
exactly.
But this particular one was creating confusion for people right on the spot. It won't after this is approved, though, I don't think.
Right.
Can you read that language one more time, Mayor? You sent me an email. Thanks. Only 2 or more residential units, regardless of their location, are not exempt from obtaining a residential license. Okay.
so after two.
After you.
Yeah, if you have 2 or more, you're not exempt. You gotta get the license.
Okay, with that, I think we're ready to go to the next item, which is employee evaluations. And this is something that Councilman Short asked me to put on here and wants to know where we are on this. So if we look at employee evaluations the way they are today, there are no guidelines that neither I nor the city clerk have been able to find referencing performance evaluations. They don't exist. So if you look at section 2.3 of the employee handbook, it's titled job descriptions. And then you look at section 2.4, that's titled categories of employment. It is the administration's opinion that performance evaluations should be addressed in that employee handbook. That's where they should be addressed, in my opinion. And so we're in the process of rewriting the employee handbook. I have rewritten about a third of it. And I'm going to take section 2.4 will be performance evaluations instead of the other category. And 2.5 will be the new category for the section that I'm replacing. So the rewrite is not complete because I haven't done all of it, but the new section that I have created is, if you look at the handbook as it's rewritten, this is part of it. 2.3 is job description. 2.4 will now be performance evaluations, and it will read, performance evaluations will be completed on all city employees annually between January 1 and April 1 of each calendar year. And performance evaluations will be initiated and designed by the immediate supervisor or department director and endorsed by the next superior in the chain of authority, with the exception of personnel who work directly for the mayor. And performance evaluations on all department directors and city clerk will be initiated and endorsed by the mayor only. So that puts language in the handbook that tells you how we're going to do it.
Sounds great. Thank
Okay.
And rewriting the city handbook is not a very quick process. It's something that I have taken on, and I do it when I don't have anything else to do.
you. The next mayor's gonna really appreciate that too. One of those guys down there.
Mayor, I've got a question.
Yes.
In there, I thought you said that the supervisor will design
Yeah.
the evaluation?
Yeah.
So they're not gonna be a standard?
Well, the fire department has their own. The police department has their own. And
But
they
it'll be like,
design-
everybody in the police department will have the same one?
That's same standard for the department.
Okay, for the department. I misunderstood.
But we will have a system, and there's not a system now. And then another thing that Councilman Short asked about is an update on the city website. And as all of you know, I have asked Will Lozano to design a website for us. And here's the email I got from him today. It says, sorry for the late response. I'm tweaking some of the website features. I added a different look and some show hide items. I have a few more pages to create, a few more plugins to add, and a backup, and then it should be done. I say next week it will be good to go. Now, you can't see any of this now because it's all hidden. Only I and Tim and the department directors get to look at it. We all met for about 4 hours this week and looked at everything that we have so far, discussed the website, discussed it. We may have been discussing. We discussed the website the way it exists right now, and each department director was given the mission of bringing their part of that site up to date by 1 April when they come back. And then we can take the update that they have and transfer that directly to the new site.
Mayor, you think it's possible that once you get this to a place where you're just about ready to go with it, that the webmaster could come here and actually do a presentation for us at one of our work sessions?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
But this is not going to be put up as a site
Right.
until all 6 of you have seen it.
Good.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going to take the latitude of doing that. I want it to go up once, not 10 times.
Look forward to that.
But this guy's put a lot of work into it, and he's very thankful for him to do it. And the next thing that you didn't ask me to do, but I'm going to do, is the tourism ordinance. And I'm going to tell you where we are on that. I had a couple of city councilmen come to see me and said, I won't vote for it the way it is. So after expressing a little bit of anger, I listened. And then on Tuesday, February the 25th, after I had that discussion, the decision was made to amend the current tourism ordinance to return collection of the transient room tax to the commission. And on Friday the 26th, our attorney prepared the new version of the ordinance. And then I took that and visited with Kelly, the tourism CEO, on Monday the 29th of March to discuss a compromise to the tourism ordinance. And at that time, we reached an agreement. I hope we still have that agreement. And since some of the language in the ordinance relates to finance, our finance director took a copy of the ordinance to Kelly on Monday that afternoon, after I made the first visit. And at that meeting, Kelly requested a couple more changes. And our attorney included those changes that same day, and the draft was emailed to Kelly for distribution and discussion and approval of the commission members. And I didn't give that to you because I want that draft to be agreed upon with the Tourism Commission before I send it to you.
So the Tourism Commission has that draft now?
Oh, yeah. And if all goes well, the final version will be presented to the council on Tuesday, March 15th for the first reading. And as an aside, we will not have to take any action on the ordinance that exists right now. It simply goes away if we don't have a second.
The one that we did the first reading on the
Yep,
other night.
yep.
We just ignore it.
Wouldn't it be clearer though if we brought it up and then voted it down? And I say that because this has been so controversial and everything. I think that would give it a final, we're not doing that one at all. Everybody knows we're not doing that one, and we've got a new,
I would recommend we just do a new first reading of the new amending ordinance. And then at the meeting after that, do the second reading of the new ordinance and then motion to adopt and vote.
when,
I wouldn't recommend going through the disapproval of the First Amendment. It just goes away.
So Mr. Thompson
You
has
have to have a
withdrawn,
second reading and a motion to adopt.
Mr. Thompson has withdrawn his sponsorship.
He didn't even have to withdraw, he didn't have to do a thing.
How do you feel about that, Mr. Thompson? You're the one who, you were adamant about it before.
No, I sponsored it, but
Yeah.
Because
I didn't want it to go away. I wanted to get this issue resolved. It's been around too long.
You're okay with
But
the
I'm
new
okay
wording?
with the changes. As a matter of fact, I was part of this discussion.
I mean, let me say this.
Oh, well,
If there's
I
a,
wasn't.
if there's a, someone that wants a second reading and a motion to adopt the ordinance, then we need to have a second and
Well,
discussion.
that was my
and then-
question. He was the one who sponsored it. I assumed he was in agreement with it.
Well, he was, but
What changed?
so was I. What changed is compromise. The whole country was built on compromise.
Mayor,
I
I'm
just
just,
think it would be clearer if we run it through the full process.
Who does it need to be clear to?
Well, in the minutes and just everything.
the only thing I'm concerned with about this is you're saying tourism has a copy, or was emailed the amended.
There's been 2 amendments to it since the last time you said it.
And, but when you said that, I seen them shaking their heads, so I'm not for sure if they received it or maybe it wasn't sent or got sent back to us for some reason.
I emailed it. You don't have it? I wondered why you haven't given it out, but do you want to come, do you two want to come to the table and talk about this?
Mayor, could I suggest
Well-
that we get a copy of the documents that you're trying to negotiate here, so we can look at those?
Because we may have some changes too
We-
before they go all the way through it and approve.
It heated up here. It's very heated discussion. I'll wait till the meeting over there is done.
I will email those out to all of you tomorrow, and I'll make sure you have the copy that we agreed to with all of the changes that were made. Basically, it comes down to one change. One change, which is in accordance with the KRS.
Right, but the whole subject has to deal with about $300,000. That's why I think we need to take each and every step, since it involves such a large amount of money.
I wanted to get it cleaned up with the Tourism Commission before I brought it to you, but I will give you a copy of what I have right now, and you'll have it tomorrow.
Barbara, the reason I said that is because who wants to keep the old ordinance and make a motion to adopt it? I mean, I don't
I
think
assume
anybody
the
wants that
person who
ordinance.
sponsored it would, but
Yeah, I would think.
I would think, but
Mr. Thompson, would you?
No, I'm not interested in keeping it.
Okay.
I'm interested. in
So
changing
is
it.
anybody else interested in actually passing the old version? I didn't think we had any.
I'm interested in us showing some unity and working together, and I think that's what Councilman Thompson and along with Mr. Palmer and the rest of the council. So,
I think you have all discussed this offline,
right.
not with a quorum, but a couple of the time, and a couple of the councilmen have brought it to me and discussed it with me, And I think we've done exactly what you wanted to do.
All right. So let's
Okay,
take-
with
let's
that-
take a look.
With that, I added one thing because we always need to have the opportunity for city council and mayor topics of discussion. And with that, I will start down at the left there with young Chris Yates and see if he has anything he wants to discuss.
I just want to say good luck to the North Hardin Trojans tonight. They're playing in the 17th District tournament against Taylor County. So good luck, 5th Region. Good Lord. Hey, News Enterprise always corrected me.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, he got something right.
Where's it at, Chris?
Nelson County High School.
Do you know
There's
what?
two games
What
there
I
tonight, isn't
17th.
There's two games there
6
tonight.
p.m.
Thank you.
John Hardin,
No,
Central Hardin.
Central Hardin, but you know.
That would be that earlier game.
That would be the, okay, Councilman Thompson, do you have anything?
I'm just waiting for spring.
Just waiting for spring? Easter flowers are blooming.
Be here tomorrow, gone Wednesday.
Okay, Councilman Short.
Mayor, I have just the request here for an agenda item on the meeting on the 15th.
Mhm.
That we go ahead and hear from the code enforcement organization about the software programs that are available and where they are at making a recommendation on implementing some of these things. I request that to be on the next city council meeting, please.
Okay, give me the latitude of seeing how far they are along with that. I'm riding with Ron Peak tomorrow morning.
Okay, good.
And I can just tell you now that I have some ideas on what we need to do. I think the truck that he drives needs to be painted just like the policeman's trucks, the policeman's cars are. And instead of police, it would say code enforcement. And I'm also thinking that we probably need to put him in some kind of a uniform that shows some kind of authority. And I'm also thinking that when we go to the next budget, we might want to talk about having 2 code enforcement officers instead of 1. So that's my thought process with what I've looked at so far.
And Mayor, back a long time ago, Mike Ryan, he used to have a actual badge. I don't know if it looks more official if you show up with a badge, you know, on your,
I agree with that.
so it's something.
I think that's kind of consistent with Councilman Short's philosophy. He says that guy is enforcing the law.
Right.
So, so I think that kind of is consistent with his ideology about code enforcement. So, a uniform definitely. But.
And I'll also have in mind that at the end of each month, we will get a report that says there were this many warning citations that went out and this many citations where somebody was charged.
Good stuff.
Okay, do you have anything else?
No, sir.
I just want to thank the tourism bureau, the mayor's office, and this council for actually working together on this tourism issue. The debating process, sometimes it doesn't look pretty, and so we're not here necessarily to all decide to go the same direction. Sometimes there's a difference of opinions, different ideas as to how do we get to the same goal. And sometimes that process does not look pretty, but I'm glad that we were able to come to a place where I think we're probably, if not all the way there, 98% of the way to having an agreement and a better day in the relationship between Radcliffe City and the Tourism Commission. So hopefully we'll get this thing finalized. We'll all get a copy that we think is commensurate with what we have talked about and decided to do. But do want to thank the mayor's office for looking this over and actually considering the voices of the council and tourism, considering the needs that the mayor's office has as it relates to accountability. And I think in the end that everybody's going to win. I do apologize that sometimes this process does not look good, but you don't want a city council and the executive branch to be one mind. There's a reason why you get to vote for 6 of us and 1 of him. And we need to keep that process and the integrity of that process and allow the debate process to happen and not necessarily be disheartened because we don't always agree. Sorry that I took too much time, but I just wanted to say that because I think we've we've reached a place, but I just want to apologize for the debate process and how it looks sometimes, but sometimes we have to do that to get to this place.
Let
Very
me
well
follow up on
said.
that for just a second. I read a quote this week from Chief Justice Scalia.
Scalia,
I've
yeah.
always had a hard time with that. And here's what he said. He said, if you don't make enemies, you're not doing your job. I don't think what he meant is don't make enemies. I think what that means is that you have disagreements with people. And throughout my short life, I found that I have had some pretty serious disagreements with people and come back later to be very good friends with them. So I think this process works. And I think sometimes when you want to make changes, you end up making what the Chief Justice would say enemies, but I don't think that's what that really means. Stan, what you got?
Mayor, very well said. Councilman Palmer, very well said. Other thing I was going to ask about, Mayor, is when is that franchise agreement again in reference to the waste management that we look at that contract? Do you know when that might be again? Coming up? Is that coming up soon for us?
I think it's right here. Wait, isn't it?
5-year contract, isn't it?
It's a 5-year.
5 years? Okay. And we're into what year? Do you know what
I
year
think
we're
we've
into?
got 2 years left.
2 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not something we need to look at right now.
Well, I just
Yeah.
wondered because I've had a couple of calls in reference to that as well, and I'll definitely come by your office and talk to you about that as well.
We have, from time to time, we have people calling in that they have been charged. And we just had one last week where somebody thought they were overcharged $125. Well, Julie has a very good relationship with them and a direct line to them to discuss those things, and she's mitigated a lot of that.
Well, this was
If you have somebody who
Yeah.
is very unhappy, Julie can handle it.
right. And this is more or less like I think on some of the property owners that own some of the apartments and different things and businesses, those different types of things, and only being able to use waste management is their only service for that, and if they're looking to see if there's other options that we could possibly think about when that opportunity comes around again. So that's what was brought to my attention.
Okay. All right,
You ready
Councilwoman
for me?
Baker, that brings it down to you.
Okay.
If we stay here another hour, it's going to be your fault.
It'll be my fault. That's fine by me. I've got a couple of things. Coffin Community Center back there, I had called to see, I guess it was Friday. I had wanted to put that on the agenda. Was interested in the roof back there. The other day when it was storming, I don't have the exact date, and the wind, we had that high winds. Part of the shingles on the back were lifting up, and one actually had blown off. Has that been corrected yet, or do you know what the problem was? I know that was the part of the roof that we had some conflict, I guess, on the way it was done.
No, it isn't. You had conflict on the front.
I thought it was the back
No,
where you had
the front.
okay, well, the back's lifting
Yeah.
off though.
Almost $11,000 contract on the back. And
So did we call those people and have them come and repair
I
it?
have no knowledge that the shingle blew off or any of them lifted.
Oh, you haven't?
No, but I will certainly check into it. And if a shingle did come off, or if some of them was lifted, that's just a matter of calling the contractor and having them fix it.
Right, and that's why I was wanting to
Yeah,
make sure
I'll certainly
that we did. I thought, I was back there for another meeting and Cindy and I was walking around the building and we noticed
Chance
that,
was told, and it's
So-
under contract, and they called the contractors. It's gonna be done.
so it's been fixed. That's what Julie said.
The contractor's been called.
Who was the contractor for that?
I don't know, they're right down here on Wilson Road and I can't think of their,
Swift.
what is it?
Quality.
Quality.
Quality,
Yeah.
They were the low bidder.
yeah.
They were $1,000 lower than the other.
And then also on that same day with that same windstorm, the, where the concession stand is for the pool, the vinyl siding, that was also blown off. And from what I understand, that apparently happens frequently. I would think that we'd be able to get that fixed where we don't have those issues either.
I saw that and I have directed it to go down and look at that and find out what's
And
causing
get a permanent fix for
and
it.
find out what's causing it to keep happening.
Okay, so anyway, when I talked to them about the siding, and that's what prompted us to go outside, because apparently the building that we thought we had fixed last year with the drainage issue, it's still leaking also,
Are you talking
down into the
about,
basement.
are you talking about the south end of Cobbin Community Center where all the brick is? That's where the leakage is coming through the wall.
It would be,
South end.
South side.
Towards this way.
Yeah, towards.
no, it's the side closest to the pool where the kitchen is. That back room right behind the kitchen.
Okay. We were getting a lot of leakage on the south end, this black wall up here. And that requires a sealant to be placed over it because some brick over time becomes porous.
Right,
And there's a sealant that can go over that will fix that, but you have to have good weather to put it on.
right. And that part I think is up in the attic. We talked about that too, but no, this was over back by the kitchen in that little storage room. That is still leaking also.
Well, Cindy will and Alicia will come to me with that as soon as things calm down there. And I don't know if you know it or not, but Cindy's mother is critically ill, and she's been out of pocket for the last 10 days or so. And I think she's coming back to work tomorrow, and I think her mother has moved in with her. And so she's had to be on sick leave, and I have taken Connie, who works up here, and sent her down there in the half day that she works to fill in. And I'll just tell you that Alicia and Cindy are doing a superb job, and Alicia is doing a great job in the absence of having Cindy with her. But they are a good team, and they work very well together.
Right. Now, the other thing, besides, the building that I had a question with, is it's come to my attention that the civic groups, now if they meet back at Colvin after 5 o'clock, have to pay a fee. Why would council not be notified or briefed or any of that? Because if they're paying a fee, that would be revenue. That's going to affect the budget. So we're in charge overseeing the budget. And if it's not the budget, then it would be a change of policy. And are we not in charge of policy at both?
Well, I don't know if I've made a mistake by not letting you know about this. This is an ongoing process that I've been working on for about 3 months because I found out when I made some changes down at Colvin Community Center that there was an arbitrary way of deciding who had to pay and who didn't have to pay. And it was not fair at all. And I thought establishing a fee thing down there, which is what this right here is, and charging a fee for non-profit organizations different from a fee for profit organizations. And all of the nonprofits agreed that they would like to see this happen. And
I don't think they all agreed in the meeting I was at.
I
I
didn't.
mean, they had some questions, so I'm sure they didn't all agree. I think they think that it's the law and that they don't have any recourse.
Well, if I have stepped out of bounds, I will do everything I can to make amends.
But, I mean, part of my concern with this is these groups are the same civic groups that we asked to help sponsor our events and help with that. They're the ones that are out doing scholarships for their children. I mean, they give back so much to the community, and in the past, we're thrilled to have them use the center as our way of showing appreciation to all the good that they do in the city, because the city would not be growing very quickly without everything that these groups do and the goodwill that they put out for us.
Well, I have established a Colvin Community Center Advisory Council, and I believe that I can do that as the mayor. And I'll tell you who's on it. It's Archie Mack from DAV and Mildred Williams from DAV Auxiliary, and Brenda Thomas from the Women's Network, and Brenda Thompson from the Chamber, and Andrea Jackson from the NAACP, and Portia Petties from Democratic Women, and Peggy Johnson from Optimist, and Britton McDowell from RSVA, and Sheila Inyard from the Radcliffe Women's Club, and Gloria Fight from Women with a Purpose, and Marie Battistoni with the Lions Club. All of them have met more than once, and if there is disagreement on doing this, it's not overwhelming disagreement, and I will be going to the meeting that they have. I believe it's on Wednesday of this week. The Rotary Club, we don't have a member yet, and I want a member from the Rotary Club for all of these discussions. I believe we can improve the use of Colvin Community Center. And I don't want anything of this, and I don't think you would want it to be arbitrary. I think you would want there to be a set of rules on how we do this.
Mhm.
And for your information, if they use this club after 5 o'clock, it costs them $25. And the other thing that some of them were in agreement with is because if you use Colvin Community Center after 5 o'clock and you want to have a private meeting, you don't have the right to have a private meeting unless you pay for it.
So are you saying that's different than just their general monthly meetings? I mean, I could understand if they're having a board member meeting and the other members aren't to be there. But a
Let's say-
general
let's say
meeting,
we
it just
had,
doesn't make sense that we would
Let's
be
say we had a
charging them.
Republican Women's Club meeting and they didn't pay anything for it and they wanted to be crashed by 10 Democratic women who come in and disrupt their meeting, they can do that. If they pay $25, they can.
Mr. Mayor, what time is that meeting on Wednesday?
I believe it's 1 o'clock.
Well,
1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon.
I just think it's something that we need to
Come to the meeting.
discuss a little further.
Come to the meeting at 1 o'clock.
And then the last thing that I have is on the agenda here, it's got our next council meeting is March the 16th, which is Gracie's birthday,
Well, let's make that March, I think that's March 15th instead of 16th.
on the Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Right. So it should be the 15th, so it's back on Tuesday.
It is definitely on Tuesday.
That's all I have.
Mayor, I have one more thing.
Okay.
Councilman Baker made me think about something. I know Councilman Baker made me think about it. At the beginning, when you first come into the city, when you come right off Fort Knox, the sign there where the house, the bed and
Like the
breakfast.
Bella.
Yes, somebody hit that sign.
Exactly, somebody hit that
That was an
sign.
automobile accident.
There you go.
Yep.
That's all I had.
I got one more
Is there a
thing.
time frame on when
we
that's gonna be
adjourn?
repaired?
I don't know. I will get an answer to that, but I don't know right now. Yes, sir.
I was just teasing.
Well, there was also we had agreement on a citizens participation guideline, and then we had disagreement on it. And now I would like to get agreement again. You have one on your table. See if you like what I'm going to do with it. For those of you in the audience, what it will say, to be included on the agenda that is distributed to the city council at noon on Friday before the regularly scheduled Tuesday meeting, please submit the following information no later than 10 a.m. on Friday. So I would like to have that information at 10 a.m. so we can put them on the schedule. And this is what your city down the road does also, by the way.
They have it on the agenda, you can't go in there and speak,
I think they have it on the agenda.
but can you go in there and speak if you're not on the
I don't think so,
agenda?
but could you find that out for me? I know what they have. Find that out for me. If you come in at the last minute, can you speak?
Because my thought there too, Mayor, is that there may be a pressing issue for some citizen here that wants to address the council. It may be at the last minute. There's a possibility. Can they come in and say, speak to you about it and see what they can do to get on the agenda is what I'm looking for.
As long as the city council would agree with me that I don't have to put that on the agenda, and that if somebody comes to me on Tuesday morning and says, I've got this burning issue I want to discuss, can I do it? I would say yes to it, but it wouldn't be on the agenda.
But see,
All the other ones would be on the agenda.
my fear with this is that, trying to think of how I'd like to phrase this. It bothers me that if somebody wants to come speak to the council, that they have to go through your office first. I think people should be able, the general public should be able to come in here and speak to us at our regular meetings and not have to go through your office. It just seems to me like, and I'm not saying that it would be, but you could have censorship. You could say, well, you don't need to take that to the council. We'll handle it. And we don't even know what the problems would be or their concerns. Because we get things so last minute anyway. The correction that you have over there, you didn't even give us that.
What do you mean you get things last minute?
Well,
Be nice to me tonight.
I'm trying to. That's why I'm trying to be careful with what I say.
Okay, good.
the words on the tax ordinance amendment. We don't even have a copy of that.
Barbara, I just looked at that this afternoon.
Okay.
It is Monday, and I just looked at it and said, I need to change this some way because a councilman called me and said you need to change it.
When did they
It's
call though? Did
this
they just,
afternoon.
they just called this afternoon? But you could easily make a
His
copy
name
and
was
pass
Sharp,
it
and he
out
called this
to us.
afternoon.
Call this morning.
Was it this morning? Well, by the time it got to me, it was afternoon.
I guess.
And I am an elected official, sir.
Yeah, I know that.
Well, you don't need to talk down to me like I'm a baby. I've been here for 14 years. I mean, it
If
really
I was
doesn't
just
bother
talking-
me as much as it does the public, but they really are getting tired of it.
I think the intent is to, I think the intent of the original intent is captured in the last paragraph, and that is to keep citizens from actually rambling on in an excessive manner that basically takes the meeting long, and most of that is redundant. So I don't see the need for the notification prior to Friday, and I think if we just make it very clear, and perhaps if we have an idea in mind as to how much time we want to give to public comments, then we can limit the comments to that amount of people. In other words, if we say 5 minutes and we only spend an hour, then we say we can take up to 12 comments at this time and open the floor. And those 12 that come up and sign up and get their names on there. Then that way, as Councilwoman Baker's just noted, there's no prior knowledge and time to posture ourselves in such a way that may cause that citizen to feel as if, we've kind of circumvented the process. I'm okay with hearing their complaints, without notice. But I think that the original intent was really just to control the meeting and to control the persons that there. So I think you captured that with that last paragraph.
And I'm good with the time limits.
You're absolutely right.
On
The
their
intent is, if you're me and you're sitting up here and someone comes up to speak and they've gone over 5 minutes and they're still talking and there's no way to stop them without embarrassing them, it puts me in a very difficult position that I don't like to be in. I don't want it to go on for 15 minutes, but I don't want to embarrass somebody by saying, hey, you need to stop.
Right, but
Yeah,
that,
I think you captured that in that last paragraph. So I really don't think that them having to identify themselves to Friday before even speaks to that intent. But I think that last paragraph speaks to exactly what you just said. The clerk will give you a sign at 4 minutes, and at the end of that time, you'll be signaled that your time is up. I think that speaks to that intent.
and that's great.
What I think we also need is we need to know before the person walks up here that they want to speak and what the topic is.
Why?
And
Why do we need that?
Well, and I think
so
that.
you can have some idea of what's coming.
But they're gonna tell us.
I don't want any
They're
advance
gonna
notice.
tell us.
But I think even that intent can be met with a simple podium outside the door with the sign saying citizens comment sign up sheet. If we limited that to 12, it has 12 spots. When it's filled, the clerk goes back, brings the seats up, and we know
Okay.
before the meeting gets started that we have to.
Your mayor, who is willing to compromise on almost anything, will take another look at this week.
Mayor,
Thank you, Mayor.
Can I add just one thing there?
Okay.
My original recommendation to you when you sent this out was that we limit the time, of course, but we have to be fair about that.
Of each
You-
speaker.
Of each speaker. Use some timing device so that we're not snagging people out of the audience and giving them an opportunity to speak when we didn't treat everyone the same. But I understand the point behind this, it's to have an orderly meeting. We can do that without prior notice. I believe Councilman Palmer and Councilman Baker just pointed that out. I don't know what everybody else feels about this, but I think the system we were using just needed to be tweaked a little bit with a timekeeper and a limit on how much time you, as the chairman, is willing to allocate for public comments. People shouldn't have to, I don't want to know what they want to talk about before they get here. Let them come in here and talk.
I'm gonna ask them to tell me and I won't share it with you.
That's probably going on right now. That's part of
I'm
the
sure.
problem.
No, that's not going on right now. Two other things I want to discuss with you. I had a request for a proclamation. It came in late last Thursday, and it was from the Heritage International Christian Church. And since a proclamation ends with, therefore be it resolved that on this date, the city of Radcliffe, on behalf of the mayor, the city council, and citizens do hereby proclaim, I want you to know that from time to time, I do these things very quickly to meet a citizen's response. And I don't know if you agree with what's on the proclamation or not. This one was a proclamation proclaiming the first Sunday of March, Wife's Appreciation Day, and the month of March is Wife's Appreciation Month.
Hard to disagree with that one.
Do you have any problem? Do you have any problem
That was something we can agree about.
What I'm telling you is I get these requests at the last moment, and it takes some time to put these together to make them sound, semi-literate, because I'm the one that writes them. And if I read you this, you may not agree with it.
Probably wouldn't.
You want me to read it to you,
No.
see if you?
No, Mayor, you're
Save
fine.
us, just save us on that
You're
one.
fine.
We'll let that one go.
Okay, then the last thing that I want to talk about is a sequence of events for hiring police officers. 55 letters sent out to applicants to appear before the written test. These are people that said they were interested. So 55 people got a letter to appear for a written test. 31 candidates appeared for the written test. 20 candidates passed the written test. 17 passed the pass-fail PT test. 15 of those were invited to the oral boards, and only 15 because of the scores they had on the written test. And then those 13 were interviewed by the chief.
15 or 13?
15 invited to the oral boards.
Mm-hmm.
13 were interviewed by the chief.
Okay.
8 were selected by the chief for background checks. And 4 candidates were selected by the chief for a psychological evaluation. And that includes a polygraph and a drug screen. 1 of them failed the polygraph. 1 lied on the use of drug use. 1 had a DD Form 214 background check problem. And 1 remained to fill one of the 3 positions that we're advertising for. Only 1. So what I told the chief to do is go back and re-advertise. Go to the news enterprise and make sure it gets out to everybody we can touch and start the process over, instead of taking 1 candidate who may have been very low on the testing evaluation, and if we had had 6 candidates that had passed for the 3, this one wouldn't have been one of the 3. It's a scenario that we have to deal with. So we've gone back to the drawing board and advertised again for the slots that we have, and by the time we start taking applications, I think we'll have 4 vacancies.
So we now have 2, correct?
We now have 3. There's 3 vacancies now.
But you said 1.
No, there's only 1 candidate that passed the whole process.
Right, so that out of 3 slots, I believe 2, right?
We're
not hiring
redoing
that
all.
one. We're
You're not.
starting over, starting completely over.
Is this person still able to reapply?
All,
But they would have to reapply?
all of these people, yeah, you'd have to, all of them are able to reapply. But that's a process you've been using for a long time. I'm not telling
No,
you
I'm not
anything.
questioning it, I'm just making sure they're still
I think that
eligible.
All the way through, I mean, why spend money on the evaluation and all that stuff a second time? when you already passed it the first time.
I would prefer not to tell you the reason for that.
Okay.
Here. But I would tell you that it may have been a scenario such as this. That if that 1 candidate had been among 6 candidates, they wouldn't have been 1, 2, or 3.
In other words, he made it to the process by default.
Sort of. Anything else to come before this committee? And I believe we could just adjourn.
Yes, sir.